Thank you to Flynn's Arcade for providing the review code. Check the description to wishlist Donut Dodo, releasing on the 1st of December on Steam and Nintendo Switch. Links are all in the description. Arcade games. Think nowadays the word would probably fall on something like mobile games, be it something like Crossy Road or Subway Surfers, or Doom of the Mask. On the PC end, you might argue stuff like Heavy Bullets, Hotshot Racing, or something like Fall Guys and Among Us. Now, personally, I do love retro-esque games like Hotshot Racing or Super House of Dead Ninjas. So when I saw Donut Dodo, a game that is quite similar to something like the arcade game Donkey Kong, it did tempt me. Donut Dodo, a game that is tough as nails with no continues. Something you find on a coin-op machine. Not to mention, it oozes the 80s nostalgia for the crowd that misses the kind of aesthetic. I mean, even the developer really selling it with saying, if a long-lost arcade game from 1983 resurfaced today, it would be Donut Dodo, a classic 2D platformer from the golden era, tough as nails and challenging for the whole family. The game itself doesn't really have much premise other than you play as Baker Billy Burns, who has to run, jump, and climb to outwit Donut Dodo and his bunch of clueless minions. Your goal is to collect all donuts in each level in the best possible time. This is from the Steam page. It's short, quick, and practically explains everything. There are basically three enemies you need to avoid in the game. Sniffy, a toad or a rat of some kind that usually sticks to an area. Stinky, a bouncing toilet who actually will try and catch up with you. The thing basically corners you to a wall. And Winky, a ghost that I have not encountered personally, though judging from the trailer, they practically hovers around the map. The game is small, and it's supposed to be kind of game where you play for a few rounds or a few tries and be done with it. Or if you're in an arcade setting like Time Zone, a few credits and you're done. I honestly adore how the game is really forward with its aesthetic. You can even play this by turning on the CRT filters and decide if you want it discrete, meaning you don't really see any difference other than just the bezel. Medium, where you can really see the lines too, like an actual CRT. Or maybe you want it fully burned, making it more dim like you're seeing an old CRT monitor. I personally like medium more since burnt actually hurts my eyes. I also do recommend turning on the illustration as it gives the vibe of playing on an arcade cabinet with the nifty details like the point hints. Although, I do wish there's at least a control scheme art too, since it doesn't really explain how you play the game. The whole thing feels like a good mix of Donkey Kong and Pac-Man. It knows what it is, and you'll be happy clearing levels after levels. As stated before, the game itself is super simple. I do need to really push this hard. If you expect something with a story or a different kind of gameplay each time, then you won't get much. It's a coin-op inspired game. It's supposed to be simple. And that honestly what makes all of this fun. And frustrating, as I'll implore later. There are 5 levels to go through, and I don't think the difficulty matter as much as it only adds enemies to the board. Though it's kinda doubtful that you'll get there on your first try. Considering there isn't much way to continue, like how you would have it if you insert more than one credits. You're most likely gonna struggle with the levels. This leads to a problem I'm having trouble with while writing and play for this review. I think this is gonna be something that might make people disagree with me. There is a line between having a game challenging and having it punishing. Oftentimes, I feel like Donut Dodo is just punishing. The game itself advertises that it's challenging. To unlock each of the difficulty and finally Sugar Rush, a time trial version of the game, you need to play the 5 levels twice, bumping the difficulty up as you finish both the levels and the possible bonus level, if you collect the donuts in order of them glowing. Now, you do get this on a coin-op game. If you die and waste all of the lives you have with no credits to continue, you will return back to level 1. This is something that would make some people back out after their first try. As stated before, you'll most likely won't see past the first 2 levels at your first try. I personally feel every death I had is punishing, either because I timed my jump wrong, timing was garbage and it feels like the game cheated, or some unexpected projectile coming to me. I legit have a few moments where I just want to chuck my keyboard or controller out. It was not a fun experience. It's probably because I'm not really into this kind of challenging game. I love my sandbox where I can set up my own difficulty and make it manageable. Hell, arcade ports like Virtua Cop and House of the Dead have option to set your health and continue. You can add challenges after you're used to the game. I feel like maybe adding this kind of setting would ease the barrier of entry to new players, because this game wants you to invest your time to learn the mechanic and improve. But I personally can't see that when you don't have the means to do something, other than punishing yourself over and over again to replay from the first level, over and over and over again. Though, the game is super forward with this. It is the same experience you'll get on an arcade machine. But at the same time, you won't be playing said arcade machine 50 times just for kicks. You can play this game with a controller. I recommend going with your D-pads for movement. Although, I also find it super slippery if you have huge fingers like I do. I don't really recommend it as much since using a keyboard is hella easier, IMHO. I'm curious how it is with the Switch, though. The other thing I'm very curious about is the possible arcade cabinet that might happen around 2023, according to the dev's website. I can totally see myself playing this in the local arcade and legit invite people to try it out. Lord knows we do need more variations in the arcade stage, and it's still quite popular in Indonesia. Despite the difficulty and barrier of entry being a bit too steep for someone who doesn't play much platformer, it's totally a fun game. I honestly still think having some way to modify how many restarts you can have might mitigate the frustration, or maybe even having a proper level selection so we could practice at our own pace would help. I can recommend it to my friends if they're looking for something small and light to play. The game's cheap at around 400,000 rupiah, or $4 if you're American, and I honestly want to see my fellow VTuber friends play this, just like they would play Getting Over It or any other difficult and rage-inducing games. It's honestly a fun entertainment on stream, I feel. Totally get it if you love coin-op games and wish someone tried to do a mix of Donkey Kong with Pac-Man. All in all, it's honestly a very solid game. If you're curious, you could get the game on Steam and Nintendo eShop. Links will be available in the description. Also, check out the dev's Twitter and website for more.